All right, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are gonna go over how to trade PayPal, how to invest in PayPal. We're gonna talk about some of the fundamentals, the technicals. I am gonna go over my process of how I analyze this chart and how to put a trade on. So let's get started. Let's just talk about the fundamentals really quick. So PayPal just reported their earnings a couple days ago, and we learned a couple of interesting things. First, we learned that Dan Schulman, the longtime CEO, is stepping down, which in my opinion is probably a good thing. You need some new leadership in there, especially when the stock is cratering. They raised guidance for EPS, and they also cited that the macro is difficult and e-commerce growth is slowing and that the consumer is under pressure. So total payment volume was down 5% from 23%, and active accounts only grew at 2%. Now, with all that said, there is an activist investor in there, Elliott Management, so hopefully that's gonna get things going, light a fire under management, but we will see. At the end of the day, PayPal is a mid-teens earning grower, and they're predicting 10% sales growth for the next few years. Now, also their PE has dropped down quite a bit to 19 times forward PE for 2023. Still probably a little rich for this stock, but definitely down a lot more compared to where it was. Okay, enough of that. So let's get into the technicals now. So just looking at the chart, just huge run up and then basically a crash. I think right now PayPal is down, let's see how much that's down. Okay, 80% from its high. Huge drawdown, lost 80% of its value now. What I'm looking at, most importantly here, is a key level. So whenever we are going to invest in stocks, whenever we're going to put a trade on, the first thing we have to do is identify levels of support and resistance. So in this case, since the stock is coming down, let's find the most important support in this stock. So if we just look here, we can see that the stock has been bouncing off of this $70 level right here. Came back down and created it in July, and then came back down and tested it in December. But this just isn't any random level that the market just decided to stop at 70. If we go back, we can see that at the end of 2017, this is where the stock actually pulled back to on its first on a really big run up that it had, right here at around 70. You can see it right here. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. There it is, right there. And that is the same level that it came down to recently, just after their earnings, and that it's been bouncing off of. So this 70 is a key level in the stock. Okay, so we look at that. We can see there it's bouncing off, and now it's making a series of higher lows, but still having that same low in place. Now there is a gap here. Gaps usually tend to get filled, so I definitely wouldn't be getting long PayPal here. You have to wait till it comes down to that support, and then that is when you want to put your trade on. That is going to give you the best risk reward for the stock, because right now it's in the middle of this range. It's in no man's land. You don't want to touch it. Don't go short, don't go long, don't do anything. Just wait for it to come down to this level, and then this is where you want to get long. You're going to have a really nice risk reward. So it's just bumping up against its 200-day moving average. It did break above its 200-day moving average here, which was hopeful, but that just was a fake out breakout. If we look at the weekly chart real quick, it's a little bit of a mess. Let me just zoom out on it so you can see it here. Okay, we did get that death cross there. When the 50 crosses under the 200, that's never a good sign. So that's worth pointing out. But more importantly, let's look at the RSI, because we do have a little bit of a divergence going on here. So let's get into that. So right here, when the stock initially pulled back to 70, the RSI printed 27, 28, and then on this next pullback here in December, the RSI printed a 37. So that is a divergence in the RSI right there. So that's good. That's showing that when the market did pull back that second time, it wasn't as oversold. However, right here, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. So right here, when it had this, when it was running back in November, you can see we printed an RSI of around 48. But then on this next run up where it didn't make a new swing high, it actually made a new high in the RSI, and that is showing that the stock is actually more overbought here despite not making a new high. So that is a little concerning, but I am willing to bet that this $70 level will hold and that this is a good place to get long the stock. So you have a couple different ways you can play. You can obviously just buy the stock. There's nothing wrong with that. But another way you can think about playing it is through options. So one strategy you can do is you can sell puts at the $70 level. So here I have the options chain of PayPal pulled up, and you can see that the implied volatility is around 43%. And a good rule of thumb is you don't want to sell premium unless that implied volatility is over 50%, showing that the value of the option is elevated, which means that when you sell that premium, you're actually going to get something for it. You would never want to sell premium if this is 5-10%, because you can get a vol spike, and if you're short premium, then that's going to totally defeat the point of what you're trying to do. But let's just take a look anyway and see what we're getting. So we are getting, if you can sell that $70 put for $1.36, $1.39, 26 days out, I mean, that is not terrible. So I mean, technically, if you were put to the stock at 70, your break even would be 68, 60, which is really that key level in the stock, right at 70. So that's one way to play it. Another way is we can just see what the options are trading at when we get down to 70, and maybe a good trade would be to put on a call spread. Just have to see how the options are priced when it gets down there. All right, so those are my thoughts on PayPal, the technicals, the fundamentals, and a few different ways to trade it. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel, and see you on the next one.